If you're in a situation where your husband and yourself have been completely disconnected for a long time, you've effectively been roommates for a long time, and you're trying to figure out how to actually get to improve that connection between the two of you, then this video is for you. Now, I know that, that idea and that thought of reconnecting can often feel like a bit of a hopeless cause, especially if you've, been disconnected for potentially years. It can feel like, well, there's no way we can actually fix this. But I want you to know that, clients of mine like Monique and Sarah and Rochelle and Angie and Laurie and all these incredible women who've been able to create the sort of shifts that you're looking for. Like, these people are real and they've actually done these things in real life. So I want you to know that it is possible, but we've got to go deep. And we're not talking about band-aid fixes here, we're talking about depth. And so make sure you take some notes so that you can maximize all of these learnings that you're going to get now. Now, make sure you hit that subscribe button below and click on that bell notification as well, so every week you get access to my latest videos where I talk you through more about how to awaken your goddess within, how to really heal from within, how to learn more about men, and also what you can do to really maximize your chances of saving your marriage. Now, if you and your husband have been disconnected for a long time, and what I mean by that is, you get home from work and it's just like a, hey, and then you go off and do your thing, he goes off and does his thing. Or it may be even a case where you're trying to make an effort, you're trying to reconnect with him, but everything you seem to do just seems to fall on deaf ears, that he has no real interest in doing things, and then by some chance, every now and then, he does come and join you for a coffee, or you go out to dinner together, you're on your phones, there's not a lot of connection on any level, and unfortunately in the worst of scenarios, you've got a situation where your husband is actually interacting with someone else. They're at a point where they've completely they're gone, and they're continuously like texting some other woman, and it just breaks your heart. So what we really want to try and work out is, what can we do here to actually rekindle that spark? What can we do to try and create the shifts that you're looking for at this moment in time? Now, in those scenarios, obviously there are degrees to which the disconnection has occurred. There might be some instances where people have gone through the entire life cycle of a relationship and got into that place of complete repression, where they've effectively got one foot out the door or even both feet out the door, and just like, what, I'm done. This thing's been disconnected for a long time and there's just no point. And then there are people who are earlier on in the life cycle where there might be a little bit of resentment, but not all the way to the place of repression. And it's good to sort of sometimes be in that place, because even when there's resentment, there's emotion there. And there's obviously a desire to have an outcome from that other person, but it's not quite where they want it. They feel like you're not stepping up to the plate in the level that they want it. So even though it's an uncomfortable place, it's a good place nonetheless, because you're actually at a place where they actually kind of want to work on things. Whereas when you're at that place of repression and the individual's got both feet out the door or one foot out the door, it's like, what's the point? I'm done. This thing's over. And so it's important to understand, where they're currently at on this path. But if you're at a place in your own mind where you're desperate to try and save this, where you're desperate to try and do everything you can to rekindle that spark with them, there are a few steps that you need to take, and a few really important ones that you need to apply immediately to maximize your chances of being able to establish a connection, and then to be able to put those steps into actual concrete action where you can start gaining momentum. Because that's the key. With any kind of relationship, it has to be momentum. And so we want to start getting that now. Now, the first step that you need to engage in is to make sure that you step into a place of empathy for where he's currently at. Now, you're hurting. And because you're hurting, the idea of kind of stepping into a place where you're looking into what he's going through and understanding the pain that he's going through right now is probably the last thing that you really want to be doing. But it's actually the most important. We have to step into a place of empathy. Because when we're only focused on ourselves, what happens is we take a very egocentric view of the world. We want to look at it more from a perspective of, if we're focusing on others rather than ourselves all the time, that means we come from an open heart. We then take advantage of the law of giving, and we actually start making an effort to understand, okay, that person is at that place right now, not because they're a bad person, not because they're, capable of doing horrible things, but because they are wounded. And if I can understand that, not from a place of guilt and blame, but from a place of understanding and compassion, then I can have that little aha moment and go, wow, okay, geez, I sort of understand how he got to that place. And if we think about anything in life, like when we've had that moment, when we look at someone, we judge them, but then we learn about their story and we go, wow, like I didn't realize that person had to go through so much. And when we do that, what happens? Our heart opens, we soften our tone, we warm to them, we're able to speak in a very beautiful and loving way towards that person. It has a very different energy about it. So the first step you've got to engage in is to make sure you step into a place of empathy and understanding for where the other person is at that moment in time. Now, the second step that you need to apply is to really take a customer service approach when it comes to business. Now, before you cringe at this idea, what I mean by that is if you think about how a business works, you think about any business that you've dealt with, right? They can give you 100 good experiences. You could rave about them. You can just have the most beautiful experiences with that organization. But all it takes is one bad experience and that can tarnish everything. Isn't it true? We've all had examples of this. We've all had times where we've dealt with businesses and we love that business. They're amazing. It could be the local restaurant. It could be a local juice bar. It could be a tradesperson that you deal with. You have wonderful experiences. And then there's this one bad experience and they handle it poorly. They don't take ownership of, their mistakes. And then it just leaves you with this really sour taste in your mouth. And when you're dealing with someone who is at the other end of the spectrum where they're in repression, they've felt like they've done everything they can. They've tried all the tactics. They feel like they've given you every chance to make it work and that you haven't done enough. And so what happens is you can keep doing all these lovely things. You can make an effort to do all these lovely things. But as soon as you slip up once, as soon as there's a moment where, you get a little bit grumpy or you get a little bit annoyed or whatever, and then he gets triggered by that, immediately in his mind, he's thinking, see, nothing's changed. You never make the changes that I'm looking for. We're always going to go down this path, right? And look, I know some of you are going to find this quite difficult because it's like, well, you're obviously hurting. You're going through a lot of pain. And if you're going through a lot of pain, how can you possibly just keep yourself in this place of just giving and giving and giving and doing all these wonderful things and not slipping up on occasions? And I agree. We have to be human. We have to acknowledge the moments where we are struggling. We have to allow ourselves to have certain experiences. But my advice to you is that when you are communicating with your husband, try and keep the energy as light as possible. Don't make it too heavy. Don't talk about too intense topics. Try and find some common ground in terms of things that you guys do together or things that bring you joy or things that bring you happiness or maybe moments in the past where you've had laughs about. And to me, that's kind of a good place to start in terms of just getting some momentum. If you find yourself having moments where he's doing things that are really triggering you, try and get out of that environment before you act on it. It's as soon as you act upon it, that's when it further vindicates in his mind, look, see, she just doesn't change. It's a lost cause. She's stuffed, right? That's why you've got to be careful to just get yourself out of that environment as soon as you start to feel that energy coming up, as soon as you start to feel triggered. Now, there may come a point in which you need to speak your truth and speak your mind and really get to a place where you both have to make a decision moving forward. But as long as you're at a place where you're still trying to do everything you can to reconnect with him, you need to try and get out of that environment as soon as you can when you're in that emotional place. If that means just going into your room quickly, taking a few deep breaths, if it means going and hanging out with your friends, if it means going and pulling out a journal and just writing down your thoughts and your emotions, do that. You know, get yourself out of that environment. Don't give him any reasons to then bring you down. Be your best self as much as you possibly can. And the more you do that, the more you start to engage in behaviors that little by little start to gain momentum, he will start to notice some of those shifts. And it's a good thing when people start to notice those shifts. It's a really wonderful thing. And you know, I was even talking to a client the other day who was very much in a place where they were disconnected. And little by little, she was just building momentum, building momentum, building momentum. And then things have really started to move forward in a really, really lovely way. So it is possible. Obviously, we need to look at how far along the spectrum that they are. But it's a really good thing to start gaining momentum on that front and really bringing your best self into it. And to piggyback off that, we lead into the third step that you need to take, which is really about making sure you're actually engaging in the healing process within you. Because the thing that triggers a lot of people is the energy that they're giving off. It doesn't even matter the words you say. It's the body language that you're giving off, which is ultimately a reflection of how we feel on the inside. And so if you're always feeling stressed and anxious and fearful about losing your husband, about, you know, losing the life that you have, all of that stuff, if you're always worried about that and you're fearful of that all the time, then that's going to be reflected in how you show up on a day-to-day basis. Now listen, I so get the pain that you're going through. I hear about these stories every day, and it breaks my heart seeing how a lot of these ladies are being treated really poorly over a period of time. And you know, it saddens me. But my goal and my mission is not just about helping people to save their marriages, but to help them to heal themselves, to be the best versions of themselves. Because a lot of the time in relationships, we haven't brought our best self into it. We've brought a wounded version of ourselves into the relationship, and we're looking to the other person to heal those wounds for us so that we can finally be enough as we are, or finally feel like we're loved. It will never be enough. It does not matter. And what's happening now is that your life is now becoming a reflection of how you feel on the inside. So what we need to be doing is really healing those deeper wounds on the inside to really create those profound shifts, those profound transformations on the inside. And when you start to do that and you feel differently on the inside, where you feel happy and at peace, and you can surrender the outcome to a higher power, whatever that means for you, where you can detach from that outcome, when you start to do that, boy, your life is going to go to a whole new level. You'll find a new level of happiness. You'll find a new level of peace. And funnily enough, every single one of my clients that have been able to really shift their marriage got to a place where they realized, you know what, if this doesn't work out, I'm actually going to be okay. Half the problem is that people feel like it's a life and death situation. It is not. It is not a life and death situation. You are going to be okay. But you've got to heal from the inside first. Because here's the thing. When another person, when your husband starts to notice that you're really shifting and you're really changing, there's going to be some interesting reactions on that part. The first thing is that he's going to start to feel that you are empowering yourself, and he's going to notice, something's going on here. Now, initially, he might be a little bit skeptical. He's going to want to see if this lasts. And because this is not about you just changing for him, this is about you shifting for you, it's going to last. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that as you start to empower you, you're not going to want to spend as much time with him. You're not going to want to be connected with him all the time. And that's a good thing, because a high quality relationship has independence in both parties. You know, the man is happy to go out and enjoy himself. The woman is able to enjoy herself and, you know, really engage in some of the things that bring her joy, but collectively they have a wonderful time together as well. And that's a really, really beautiful environment to be married in. It's a wonderful place. You know, me and my wife, we love spending time with each other, but we also have plenty of things that we do individually as well that bring us joy. And it's really important to have that sort of environment set up. And when we do that, when we start to create that environment, he's going to want to spend time with you. And the other thing that it does do, and I don't want to use this as any kind of manipulation tactic or anything like that, but when a woman starts to find her own sense of independence, because the relationship has often been in a place where he's the one that's been more in control, because a relationship is usually dictated by the person who doesn't want the relationship as much. And so if he's the one that's not really that interested and you're the one that's desperate for it, when you start to pull away, when you start to actually reclaim your power, he's going to feel that there's a bit of an energy severance on some level. He's going to feel like there's a cutting of the cord. And so when that's been severed, he's going to pick up on that and go, ooh, something's not right here. What's going on here? And he's going to want to pursue you a little bit more. Now, we've got to be careful about this, because I don't want it to come across as, you know, you're doing this to try and get him back or anything like that, and you're playing on his insecurities. It's none of that. What we're effectively doing here, though, is you're empowering yourself to bring your best self. He's going to pick up on that. That's going to then encourage you guys to have some better conversations and then lift each other up. And that's a special place to be. And when you start to really engage in those behaviors, when you start to really take advantage of that, things can shift, things can change, you can reconnect. Now, if this all makes sense, or if you're struggling to understand any of this stuff, just let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions around it. But also, if you're at a place where you really want to create that level of healing on the inside, that you've tried some of these steps, but you just can't seem to solidify them within you, then, you know, I'd love to be of service to you through my program, The Authentic Relationship System. It's an amazing program. I only really want people to be a part of it if it's something that feels right for you. I think that's the most important thing. You know, not everyone's going to be in a place where they're wanting to create those shifts, or they're, you know, they feel like they're maybe have the courage to do those things at this moment in time, which is absolutely cool. If you're not ready, that's okay. But if you do feel like you are ready, if you do feel like you're ready to embark on a journey where you're wanting to heal and grow within you and really create that marriage of your dreams, then I'd love to be of service to you through my program. And all you need to do, if it fits right for you, if you connect with me and my New Zealand accent, then in the description section below, just click on that link which just says book a call with me. Just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, and then I'll contact you at that scheduled time, just so I can learn a little bit more about you, get to know you as a person as well. And then if it feels right, if it's a good fit, then we can bring you on board and really help you to move forward and create that transformation that you're looking for in your life and in your marriage. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, make sure you hit the like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And do let me know what your biggest takeaway is, or if you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions for my next video as well. Just write them below and I'll make sure I take them on board and start creating some of that content that you're looking for. And if you want to learn whether your husband's going through a midlife crisis, just click this video above. And if you want to learn how to save your marriage from the brink of divorce, click this video above. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video.